Hello friends, it is April, Wednesday, the 22nd, 2020. It is about 3 o'clock. We've had some nice sunny days here. Little bit of a break though, and had a little bit of a rain shower just now. I went ahead and finished up Final Fantasy VII on my own, just for obvious reasons. Finished it up. Had my little alone time with it. And if you watch the last stream, you can kind of tell why. I'm over it. I don't care. And most of all, there's no point in getting into it with people. At this point, it's very clear that everybody is more or less. Everybody has made their choice of which direction to go, and everybody is kind of taking their path, and that's really all there is to it. Maybe for some time, a number of people have been on the same path, the same highway, but it's not forever, and the exits are starting to come up. And I think give it a bit more time, and it's going to become even more evident that people are going to split off into their own directions and journeys, etc. So that's all there is to it. Just you'll see. If that doesn't make any sense, you'll see. Because ultimately, things can go on for a while, but they won't go on forever. And sometimes, some people will come to realize that it's time to simply move on. So, and try something else, if you will. So, anyway, the game was fun. It was all right. The ending. The ending was whatever. I guess we'll see. Essentially, leaving it up for them to do more or less whatever they want, and you can change fate, etc., etc. So whatever. I'm not heartbroken over it or anything. So the music and the combat system were definitely the standouts. The low points, the side quests really stunk, and some of the very obvious padding where just sections of the game went on for a little too long became very evident, and it's kind of a bit of a bummer. But at the end of the day, folks, as fun as it was, I'm glad it's over. Between Resident Evil 3 and Final Fantasy 7, I'm glad to be done with gaming. That's the most I've done in a long time, and kind of out of my system and done with it. At the end of the day, it's not real. It's not real. It made no difference in your life. You didn't solve anything, etc. And the simple reality is it's just not. The cope is not as pleasant as it used to be. So it's good to be done with it. You leveled up a fictional character, not yourself, and you made a difference in a fictional world, but made no difference in your own life. And as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to kind of lie. Not that you're lying to yourself, but it's just that enjoyment of doing something in a virtual world really just isn't there. So yeah, that's it for Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil. My thought is, a part of me though is kind of realizing that I don't know how I feel about all this stuff being remade, but I know that there's people who've talked about the fact that, hey, seem to be running out of ideas, and there's all this stuff being remade, redone, brought back, rebooted, etc. But it's par for the course, whatever in life. So it is what it is. I said I had my fun, but I'm glad to be done with it and put away. So anyway, I decided to do a little driving. The rain has cleared up. We got the sun coming out. I went to an old neighborhood that I've not been in for a long time. Approximately since the last time I played Final Fantasy VII, which was maybe, over 20 years ago, back where I had my middle school and high school friend who the relationship there just kind of dropped off. And I know I've talked about him before, where we kind of met up a little bit after college, and it was weird. So all I can say is it felt relatively normal for a while there, early on, middle school, some high school, but afterwards, yeah, you just kind of realize that you've been friends for, that's one of those people who kind of knows everything about you, but you don't know anything about them, and they don't divulge at all in any way, shape, or form. Just these weird cryptic things. And yeah, you find out that you've essentially been quote unquote friends with somebody who more or less at this point feels like a stranger, you know what I mean? So it just ended off on a weird note, and he was very difficult to talk to at that point. It's the thing where you just kind of realize, yeah, as I mentioned earlier in this video, that the paths eventually just split, folks. The paths just sort of split, and you're two different people who've gone on different paths. So let's see. But yeah, for some odd reason, I went back to this neighborhood. I don't know why, just something from your past that you start remembering again. And yeah, did drive by their old house just to kind of see. I had this brief moment where I thought, like, oh, maybe I'll see him like mowing the lawn or something, and I can like stop and be like, and like reconnect and like, oh hey man, blah, but yeah, no, it's clearly they've long since left. Who knows where him and his family are at this point, etc. So it's yeah, I just went somewhere else to kind of have a seat, just sit here, get some fresh air, just kind of take some old memories back in. For some odd reason, I can still remember this. There's this one path with like a little canal or something, if you will, and the bridge over it just had these like particular silver kind of barriers or something to keep people going off the side, if that's whatever you'd call it. Just still for some odd reason is imprinted in my head when I, as I sit here and look at the spot. It's very like it's just kind of stuff like that you can easily recognize and remember. I don't know what it is. And just a little bench nearby where I remember we filmed some kind of dumb music video for a film class in high school. So yeah, one of those little like throwaway spots that I doubt. I don't think anybody ever probably sits here, because it's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a weird little spot. It feels, it's, well, you know how like you'll go to some spots and they feel a little bit more natural, where other ones feel very almost industrial. So I mean, I don't know. That's what, there's a lot of like pipes and spots and stuff like that with water going into other water. I said it just feels like a little too sewery around here. So I don't imagine anybody probably go somewhere a little bit more cleaner, etc. to sit. So but anyway, yeah, that's what today has been. It's been a just overall kind of a, it's okay, it's good, but I'm having my, let's see, how would I really describe it? I would say just having some pretty big realizations, when you're finally kind of coming face to face with some things that really you should have come face to face with long ago. But as I always say, better late than never. I would say the first thing is that I guess I've finally learned that you really truly cannot have it all. And especially as you start getting older, it's kind of you either still stay the same way, do the same stuff, or you kind of embrace change and becoming, and becoming isn't necessarily just doing things. I've also realized that it's not necessarily what you do. I mean, it's important, but it's also, giving things up and eliminating things is also a big, big thing. The question is, I put it this way? It's what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do to become who you want to be and have the life that you actually want to live? And the part 2 to that, because it's a two-parter, is what are you willing to give up to become who you want to be and live the life that you want to live? Because it's doing and also giving things up. And that can be very, very painful, as something that I've talked about before, because when you're giving up things that you know, for unknowns, it really is kind of like giving up who you are and who you know for like it's who am I, who am I? But that is simply how it goes. You cannot sort of want a better life and want this and this, but also, I'm also going to play, 8 hours of video games, something like that. You can't, just the more time that goes by, the less time you have in the hourglass, so to speak, the more it becomes very, very evident that it's a choice. It becomes kind of a very more black and white, clear-cut choice, because there's a lot that you're working against, So, and that's another thing, is that it truly does seem to, what I'm realizing, come down to becoming the person that you want to be. That's really what it seems to be, folks. And that is scary. Scary, but exciting, isn't it? It's scary and exciting because to become who you want to be means having to give up who you currently are, right? That is something very, very difficult to come to terms with sometimes, because that means that you simply haven't been good enough, and that is something that can be very, very difficult for some people to come face to face with, if you will. But more and more, I don't really have any anxiety, fear, trepidation, whatever about that any longer, because all I know is very clearly what I've been doing, what I've been thinking, the way I've been has clearly not worked. So when you hit that point, well, there you are. There you are. You're faced with the question, You gonna continue on, or are you gonna take the journey, the quest that's only that matters and that's only ever mattered, and that is the journey to become a mature, responsible man who gets things done and faces his problems rather than runs away from them, and doesn't hide away from people, but actually does his best to interact with them, etc. All the video games, all the this, all the that, it's been fun. It has, but it's come time to just do something else. It's come time to do something else, and most importantly, to be somebody else. If you're not happy, then why would you continue to hold on, right? All right. I think that's about all I have to say, folks. And I think I'll see you on the other side, so to speak. Bye-bye.